Well, first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I feel like it's an important subject matter as well. As far as how I decided to like sit down and really start working on the film, there was a lot of journalism that had already kind of taken place. I didn't really like fully investigate the story and kind of really look at it until 2010, 2009, 2010, and by then there had been multiple cases of this, and so there had been a lot of different documentary films or more journalistic pieces on television. There's also been definitely multiple different newspaper articles and things like that, so that was kind of the first step. And then I went and found the court decisions in as many of the cases as I could find, and went through those. And really what I was looking for was just to kind of know what the A to the B to the C, like what the plot structure was. And for me, like the movie was a bit of a test to try to put myself in an empathetic place with how people could have gotten from kind of step to step. Because there was in various different cases, there were always kind of things that came up and were the same. Like there was almost always, it was always a police officer calling, it was always a female employee, almost always, that had stolen money or had maybe hidden drugs in the store. And there was even to the point, to as specific as like there being the jumping jacks or running in place. That happened like 8 or 9 times in different cases. So I just looked at what those were and kind of built the general structure from there.
The script many times. And then I tried to name what she was simply doing. In other words, what her simple actions were. I understood her, I felt, and had no judgment of her, which was quite helpful. So I felt I knew how to move forward, one thing at a time. And I thought about my own, as actors do in preparation, my own history in terms of how I grew up, which is in a loving family, but a strong religious component. And the lesson there was always to defer to the church without question, and to authority in general. I was not raised to challenge adults, and I certainly was not raised to have a dialogue about why I didn't agree with what was being asked of me. It took a long time to let go of that, as it is for all of us, I'm sure, to become ourselves and to champion our own opinions. But I thought about that a lot. And it's not surprising, I guess, that it's rather easy to go back to those places. And so that's what I did.
Pardon for the fact that you're still in shock. Yeah, so the real story, there were 70 cases in 35 U.S. states over a 10-year period. Starting in 1994 and going until about 2004, and there was in sort of the last known case of it, and after this one case, actually pretty closely parallels the film in certain circumstances of it, that there weren't any more. But in that last case, a person was. A calling card was tracked back to a person who, when they went to his house and to question him about that, searched his house and found calling cards that were attached to the phone numbers were attached to cases in 8 different other cases. They went back like 3 years. He also had at his house applications to police academies and police paraphernalia and things like this. And he was taken to trial and found not guilty. He always said he never did it. and he was found not guilty. There was not evidence that really could, directly link him to it. So that's kind of the answer, ultimately. As far as how far the other cases went, they would often go this far, or in some cases, I don't know if I would say worse or just more strange. There were certain cases in which, well, there's one that like always pops in my head, which is that the police officer talked, the manager of a fast food restaurant said that there was a sex offender in the front dining room, and there were also undercover policemen in the front dining room, and if she would take all of her clothes off and walk into the front dining room, the sex offender would jump up and try to get her, and then the police officers would catch that guy. And so she did. She was talked into doing that. I don't think you could make a movie out of that. I think that that's like so far past craziness that I couldn't. But in a lot of cases, this was a thing I saw over and over and kind of looking at it, and it also kind of just squared, I guess, with in talking with Dreama about how we should play it. I mean, we kind of both looked into like what shock it is and when that happens, and I don't know if I 100% agree that the only reason that this person was doing that Becky in the movie is doing it is because she's scared of a police officer. I mean, I think at some point coercion is a really big part of how, specifically when people use authority to exert control over other people, and especially when men use authority to exert control over women. Coercion is a major aspect of that, and I think that probably played some amount of a role, and I also think that just, it was her boss, she needed a job, I think there were probably a lot of halfway things that kind of all got her into enough of a situation that then she, was in shock, I think, probably, at some point. That's all me guessing.